So let's talk a little bit about the learning phase. The learning phase is just a complex thing that we need to discuss. Actually, today I had a call with a Facebook rep, and again we were discussing about the learning phase. Before we even start, before we even say anything, I must say that I believe that the learning phase is another way for Meta to make us spend more. And as we go through what it is, from where we know it and all of that, I will explain more and more why I believe that. But if you just want to know and be a little bit biased before you even see all of that, my explanation, I do believe that it's another way for them to gamify, and I have said it in many of my YouTube videos, basically to make us spend more in order to reach the 50 events over here, which is basically the point after you are having not learning limited, or you're not seeing learning anymore, but you see active, which means that you pass a learning phase. From my experience, and I'm going to recap at the end and say it again, I haven't seen any crazy differences, not even a difference when you are passing the learning phase comparing to being learning limited or whatever. Still, I'm going to criticize my other accounts based on ROAS, okay, or cost per purchase if this is what it's needed. So the learning phase is good to know as a theory because it's going to help us understand the 20% rule and all of these kind of things, but it doesn't mean that you have to, it has to be something that you have to be afraid of. Let's discuss a little bit about the past. Rewinding, and we go before iOS. Before iOS, what did we have? We have a conversion window. This is what we were going to see. It was just below. Over here we are having our optimization event, okay, and it was below we were putting purchase, of course, because this is what we always put. And then it was the conversion window that we're going to use, which was this, okay? So we're having these options over here before iOS. Also, we were having the attribution. The attribution was how many days is Facebook going to decide if a sale is coming from Facebook or not. So attribution was a different thing from conversion window. What was conversion window? Conversion window was the period of time that it was going to use after someone doing an action, clicking or viewing for 1 day or 7 days. I will explain in a little bit what this means. The period that our ad set is going to use data from in order to continue optimization. As we said in this course and in my YouTube videos, Facebook ads is all about consistent results, okay? So you're having one sale from one person, person A, then you're finding another sale to person B based on that. Based on these two, you're finding a third sale, which is person C. Based on these people, you find another sale to person D, and so on. So the conversion window is how many days of data is it going to use on the ad set in order for us to keep continuing this process. And we have several options that we can use. 7 days click, 7 days click, 1 day view, 1 day click, 1 day click, 1 day view. Of course, I must say that after iOS, I stopped using these two. Okay, I'm not using them anymore. Why? Because after iOS, we are starving for data, okay? We need more data, more data in order for us to continue to optimize. The problem is that in order for us to have a very powerful consecutive order of conversions over here that are going to give us data, we need to target more people. But not only that, we're not only limited from the perspective that after iOS we're targeting less people, but we're also limited from the perspective that basically less people are sending events within the platform. So as you can understand, back in the day, if we were targeting, let's say 1 million people, now we're targeting less people, which means that less people are sending also data within the platform. So this became weaker, basically, in terms of how many events it can actually use, while these haven't changed. The 7 days click means that if somebody clicks and converts within 7 days, it can be used here for optimization. If somebody views, just sees the ad, what is view? View is if somebody is scrolling and sees a video for 3 seconds, which is considered engagement, it's also a view. If this person converts within 24 hours, what is going to happen is that this person is going to be attributed as a sale if it's going to convert. The click, I need to clarify that it's not only the click that we have on call to action, it's also the click that we do have if someone clicks and comments something, if someone clicks and likes, okay? If someone clicks on a video to stop it, okay? It's considered a click. It's not only the click of the link that we have in our ads. How do we know that? because we are seeing, even when we use only 7 days click with engagement ads, which are not having a call to action button and the only thing that they do is engagement, we do have sales over here. Also with engagement ads or traffic ads, of course, in very strong ad accounts that they are going to have sales anyway. We do engagement or traffic ads without traffic ads, for example, let's say that we do for likes into the Facebook page. And we do still get sales, which means that this is not a click only for the call to action button. It's a click also that is happening within the ad. So for any click on the ad, we can actually attribute a sale. So this is what 7 days click is. This is what 1 day view is. If somebody views and converts within 24 hours, basically it goes within the data that we can use inside the conversion window. Except from that, we had also attribution. What was the attribution? The attribution back in the day was either 7 days or it was 30 days. If you are old enough and you have done ads for a long period of time like me, or even before iOS, let's say, you don't have to be really old like me, and you have done ads, you know that, for example, you are seeing the results on the end of February, and then you were going at the end of March and you were seeing the results of February and they were completely different. Why? Because of the attribution. The attribution back in the day, it was 30 days. What does this mean? That you might get a sale even if someone is actually going to buy later, okay? Now, it's different to call the conversion window, okay? And different to talk about the attribution. Why? Because in the conversion window, which is on 7 days maximum, this data is going to be used for optimization. But you might go and you might have ad set 1, ad set 2, and ad set 3, okay? Now, if something happens within 7 days, this data is going to be used for optimization, but you might come after 20 days here and see that this one and this one, they got +2 sales and +3 sales, which have never been used for optimization over here, but they have been attributed. Why? Because we had 30 days attribution. It could go back and actually attribute even 30 days later. What does this mean? That we were having better ROAS in our campaigns. You could see that you were having, for example, sales coming throughout for 30 days, while now they're coming for 7 days. What most people don't know is that back in the day, you could change from 30 days to 7 days attribution. Then they had business owners that they were pushing me not to put 30 days, but 7 days. And I have done it, okay? And the difference was big, okay? Because imagine that it's another thing to talk about the 7 days that it's for the conversion, the data that's going to be used for optimization of the ad set. And it's another thing of how many sales are going to be attributed within 30 days. Because after the 7 days mark, here we were still getting sales, which means that if we were going to watch our results 7 days later, 10 days later, 20 days later, we were seeing completely different results. For some brands, this didn't matter because they were having sales all the time. But the 30 days attribution over here was very, very, very important for big AOV companies. Companies like the ones selling vacations, big vacations, like sofas or furniture, all of that. These companies were able to do ads. Even if you didn't have good results here, still the sale after 25 days, because it's taking more time for someone to actually decide if they're going to buy or not, they were actually converting and they could see if their ads were working or not. Now, in order for you to do that, you need to do your normal ads and just see other platforms like tools like Triple Whale or other things that are going to help you understand if somebody has converted, when they have seen your ad and all of that. Back in the day, we didn't have the need of these tools, because we had 30 days attribution, which was actually showing us if the ads are working on the long term and the lifetime value of customers and stuff. Of course, after iOS, the first thing that has changed, one of the first things that we have seen drastically changing the platform, it was the 7 days. And this is the point that I have seen a lot of people having companies that they were having $10 cost per purchase, $20 cost per purchase, except from the fact that they were targeting less people, which means that they were having less conversions. What was happening also, it was that we were having less data within, but we were having also different attribution. So with the different attribution, we were having also less ROAS. And a lot of companies stopped advertising because they were seeing these results, but they couldn't understand that they were getting helped in the long term. So this has changed drastically, and also the events that are coming inside for optimization on the conversion window has changed. So all of these things have changed. So what Meta did actually converted them in one thing, which is called now attribution setting. Now, if somebody doesn't explain this to you, you are not going to understand what is attribution setting completely, because attribution setting is a mix of those two. Okay? And the problem is that it's not that someone is old enough to have seen both of them to explain, is that nobody fucking cares to actually explain to you what is this, okay? And this is why we have people following the 20% rule and all of that without even understanding what they're doing, but we're going to discuss about this on the next chapter. So the attribution setting that we see below our optimization event here on the ad set is just these two things together combined, okay? Now, our attribution nowadays is 7 days. We don't have a 30 days attribution. Our conversion window still remains these things over here, okay? I'm still using 7 days click, 1 day click, 7 days click, 7 days click, 1 day view. I'm not using this. Before iOS, I was using this with manual bidding, okay? And I was having crazy budgets, so for every day I didn't care. I was going for many events. Let's talk a little bit about the learning phase. And what is the learning phase? The learning phase says that in this conversion window, which is now this, you need to have 50 events of the event that you optimize for. So if you're optimizing for checkout, you need 50 events of that in the course of what you're using over here, which of course we're using 7 days click, 7 days click, 1 day view. If you're using 1 day click, it means that you need 50 events to the 1 day click. So, of course, we're not going to use checkout. We're going to talk only with purchases or leads over here. Okay, nothing else. Only these two are okay. Now, we have analyzed in other chapters why, especially in the United States. So, we have the purchase event, we have the lead event. We need 50 events in order to pass the learning phase. The learning over here is going to appear when you start your ads. And sometimes back in the day, we were having also a bar when you hover over it, that you were able to see, for example, that you are missing another 25 events, for example, in order for you to be able to pass the learning phase. If you pass the learning phase, you're going to see it active. Do you need necessarily 50 events to pass the learning phase? The answer is no. I have seen ad sets passing the learning phase faster, okay? Do you see learning limited with yellow? This is another message from Meta that you need to spend more in order to pass the learning phase. Now, given all the things that we said, this is another way for Meta to make you spend more, just trying to make you pass the learning phase. I know it's a very good theory, it sounds really good that you are passing the learning phase. I haven't seen any stability to the ad sets. I haven't seen any ad sets that are scaling more because they pass the learning phase. I haven't seen any ad sets performing for a longer period, ROAS increasing. I haven't seen anything. I'm seeing all day long learning limited, I'm seeing learning, I'm seeing all of these things. Sometimes even active because they pass it, but I have never seen actually something which is going to damage my ad account. I have never met anyone that he told me that I didn't pass the learning phase, so I had issues. I have seen only people trying to pass the learning phase and actually losing because they're trying to do something like this. Now, Meta is having a lot of things too. They put this yellow, they put this bar over here in order to put you to pass the 50 events. 50 events again on this period, okay? On the 7 days. If you use that. If you use that, is this. For example, a lot of times I have met people that they say, I haven't passed the learning phase, I need 50 events. And I see them using the 1 day. That means that they don't understand what is the learning phase and how it works. But now you actually know how it works and what it is. And this is why we are talking about the learning phase, because in the next chapter, we're going to talk about the 20% rule. And the 20% rule is based on the fact that if you scale more than the 20%, basically you go back to the learning phase. Just to recap a little bit, conversion window is the same thing with this Attribution setting, it's all together with attribution. You know about attribution, it's happening also today. Right now we don't have 30 days, so you're not going to see any delayed reporting over there on the ads. Of course, we do have delayed reporting anyway. This is what Meta says, that we have up to 72 hours delayed reporting, which has nothing to do with attribution, nothing to do with this. Of course, it has to do with this because the late reported is going to be used for optimization. But all I know is that we have up to 72 hours of delayed reporting, which means that we are a little bit more flexible in our optimization, but we're going to discuss about this later. 50 events of the event that you're optimizing for, not just an event, the event that you optimize for. So if you're here and you're not running an e-commerce and you care about the learning phase, which you shouldn't care about, but anyway, if you care about, let me tell you that here is the event that you put. For example, complete registration, if this is the last event for you. Don't use these because we need more data in order to have stronger optimization here in our conversion window, which now became attribution setting. Use only those. You don't need these, okay? If you see learning limited, don't care about it. If you see learning all of that, don't care about it. It's another way for Meta to make you spend more. At the end of the day, if you're spending 100, 200 per day, 300 per day, and especially if you're doing crazy method, you will never pass the learning phase, okay? So don't worry about something that is for bigger accounts, but even in the bigger accounts, it doesn't have any impact. Let's go to the next chapter about the 20% scaling, and let's learn how to use all of that if we want to use it and where it makes sense to actually discuss about the 20%.